I got the opportunity to go to John Hagee's church, and I'm not kidding when I say it was the most wild church service I have ever been to. Nothing has even come close. I'm not even being dramatic about this, as I'm going to tell you about here in just a second. But fun fact, I actually got to witness my very first mugging on the way to John Hagee's church. It was Sunday, of course. We're heading to church, and some guy gets out behind us and sticks his gun straight in the passenger side window, steals this lady's purse, and then takes off. And that is pretty suiting, though. That's pretty fitting because John Hagee has been robbing people by way of the tithe for years. But when we went to this church, it was one of the most wild things I've ever seen. I've never seen a church service that's even come close to this, okay? You walk in and you sit down, and one of the very first things you notice is there is this throne up on the stage, up at the altar is what they call it, but there's this throne that John Hagee sits on. I'm not even kidding you. Let me show you this monstrosity so that you can believe me here. Okay, here it is. Here's this throne. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's a throne. It's not a seat. It's a legit, actual throne. And it took me back because when I first saw it, I was thinking, wait a minute, what? And the weirdest thing is, he sits in this only during worship. He doesn't preach from this. He actually goes up, there's a pulpit and a microphone. He stands up when he preaches. He only sits in this when the worship service is going on. So the first, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And it's the weirdest thing because everybody is facing towards the altar, or that's what they say. Really, they're facing towards him, and he's facing towards the audience, and people are crying, the emotions are high, and it looks like they're worshiping John Hagee. I mean, when we went there, this was probably 10, 12 years ago, so I was a fairly new Christian. I'd only been a Christian maybe a couple years, and this took me back. I mean, I didn't know what to think besides this is crazy. This is wild because here he is literally up on this throne, and this is his son. He also has a throne. He didn't at the time that I knew of, but it was just him up there at the time, and it looked like people were just worshiping him. And that's not even the weirdest part, though. The weirdest part is when the worship songs were being sung, he sat there with this stone cold look on his face. He didn't worship, he didn't sing, he didn't raise his hands, he didn't do anything. He literally sat there while everybody else sung, everybody else worshiped and faced him, and it looked like he was just soaking it in. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in a church service. He almost had his nose up, and it looked like he was soaking it in. That's the only way I can describe it. And seeing this as a fairly new Christian, it was wild. But fast forward 10 years or so, and I wanted to look and see if he still does this. So I just went to his YouTube channel, and sure enough, I went to the live feed. I just went to the very first video, and it was a video from this last Sunday. So he absolutely is still doing this. And we're going to go through this clip, and I'm going to show you so you can see it for yourself, how surreal this is. And in person, it's a lot more surreal than it is. It doesn't do it justice when you're seeing it in a camera, but we're going to go through it, and I'm just going to let you see how insane this is. I mean, while you're watching this, just imagine if you could possibly ever do something like this. If you could ever place a throne on stage while people are worshiping, facing you and worshiping, and you just sit there and don't do anything. Now, I think at the very end of this, I think I did see him say a couple words, and he did raise his hands really quickly, but the vast majority of this worship service, he is doing absolutely nothing. I mean, just this cold look on his face. So let's go ahead and look at it. Okay, so you got some people singing up on stage, and see over here to the left of the stage, on the left side of the stage, there is his throne, and he's just sitting there. He doesn't really stand up. He just sits there while everyone else is standing up. You got people in the audience standing up. It looks like more or less everybody's standing up. And when I first saw him, I thought, okay, maybe he's got some sort of disability. He can't get up, or something like that. But he got up to preach, so it wasn't an issue of that. It's just he just sits here while everyone else is standing and singing, and he just sits there with this cold look on his face. So as you can see, he's not doing anything. He's kind of just sitting there. He's just chilling. Here we go again. Here's another look. Still just chilling. Wish I could zoom in a little bit so you can see that he really isn't doing anything. We're gonna see that here in just a second. You got the chorus back there. They're all standing. It's just, I mean, imagine, and I was probably over here to the left in the audience, and we were fairly kind of close to him, not really, but kind of in the middle of the audience here. And all right, right here, look at this. Saying nothing. Okay, I want you to see that again. Okay, I want you to look at this. Look, everybody, just note, everybody else is singing. Everybody else is, really feeling the presence of God or whatever you want to call it. And look at him. Now, if you saw this, would this not be wild to you? I mean, think about it. Let's look at that again. There he is right there, not singing, just doing nothing. Nothing. I mean, everybody, you have to keep in mind, you can't really see it that well here, but everybody is facing him, facing towards the stage, facing towards him. And he's just doing this, not singing, not raising his hands, nothing. I mean, look at that face. It looks like he's thinking about what he wants to do for lunch or something. I mean, it's wild. And then of course they have a golf ad right here. Of course, that's Matthew 28, right? Jesus told everybody to go off into the world and start golf tournaments because that's how apparently they spread the gospel. I don't know. They're just playing games. I mean, seriously, they're just playing games. This is a joke. Then, of course, they have a financial freedom class, of course, because John Hagee is considered a prosperity gospel preacher, and he's all about the money, and he is sure to ask you for the tithe money and tells you you're going to be blessed, and you need to give to him, of course. Not poor Christians. You need to give to him in his ministry. But here is, now look at this. The sermon actually hasn't begun yet. This is actually sort of a pre-sermon. They're talking a little bit before he gets up on stage and starts the actual sermon. So, but look at this. If you notice, it's just him and his son, and they are alone up on the stage, again, sitting on their thrones. Guys, these aren't seats. These aren't just normal seats, okay? These are I mean, what else would you call them? This can't possibly be considered a seat. This is a throne. And it's just, it blows my mind because, I mean, how do you get to this point? I mean, seriously, how do you get to this point where you're up on a stage on a throne? I mean, was there just one time where he had a secretary and he says, you know what? I need a seat so I can sit up on stage during worship and everybody can just look at me and just notice how amazing I am. And then, Debbie, come on over here. Help me figure this out. And she goes, well, you know what? I think a throne would be a great idea. Yes, a throne. That is a great idea. Yes. How about a white one? Oh yeah, just like in Revelation 20. Yeah, the great white throne. Perfect. You know what, Debbie? I think you need a promotion. I mean, this is so silly. This is so wild that, again, I've never to this day seen anything remotely close to this. He's literally sitting up on a throne and everybody it looks like they're worshiping him. It's bizarre. So, but look at this. I just wanted to show you something. Remember what Jesus said about taking the best seats. Remember in Luke 11:43, he said, woe to you Pharisees. This is a curse. This is saying danger to you, danger ahead. Listen up. For you love the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces. Guys, if this isn't the best seat in the house, what is? I mean, seriously, all the other members are sitting on church pews, and he's sitting on this absolute monstrosity. I mean, what is this? This is a great white throne, I guess. It's absolutely mind-blowing that people wouldn't just, that people give to this church. It just blows my mind. But remember, Jesus also said, beware of the scribes who desire to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces, the best seats in the synagogues. Okay, the equivalent to this would be what? The best seats in the churches, right? I mean, listen, if this isn't the best seat in the church, I would like to know what is. If Jesus wasn't talking about this sort of thing right here, then what was he talking about? The best seats in the synagogues. Well, we have churches today, so it would be the best seats in the churches. They love these things. They love to be noticed by men. They do their works to be seen by men. They make long prayers in public. These are the sorts of things Jesus said, beware of. And you know what's amazing? Is almost nobody is aware of this or pays any attention or cares. And Jesus said, beware of this. This is a command. It's a commandment of the Lord. And this is one of the commandments that's just so easily, completely, largely ignored in the church today. I mean, seriously, if this doesn't fit the bill of loving to have the best seats in the synagogues, then tell me what does. For those of you Hagee supporters out there, please tell me what would qualify as taking the best seats in the synagogues. Think about it. Think about it. Don't just prop them up and just follow your leader just because, listen, follow Jesus. What did Jesus say? Jesus warned us about this sort of thing. And these are the marks of prideful people. Jesus gave us a list of things that Pharisees would do, such as take money from widows. Today, they do that by way of tithe. They would use special names like rabbi. Today, they use Pastor so-and-so, Pastor John Hagee. They love these sort of things. They love to be greeted and called these things in the marketplaces or the malls or the shopping centers. And they go around in long robes, or today, we have very nice suits with really nice gold watches. See, guys, things haven't changed. It's the same thing. But Jesus told us to beware of these sorts of things. So we need to beware. We need to follow and heed Jesus' command here. But notice it also says, and they love the best seats at feast. At feast. So it's not only in the synagogues, but other places they go as well. And remember the parable that Jesus gave in Luke 14. So he told a parable to those who were invited, and he noted how they chose the best places, saying to them, when you are invited by anyone to a wedding feast, do not sit down in the best place. Let the one more honorable than you be invited by him. And he who invited you and him come and say to you, give place to this man. And then you begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down in the lowest place, so that when he who invited you comes, he may say to you, friend, go up higher. Then you will have glory in the presence of those who sit at the table with you. For whoever, listen to this, for whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Isn't that what Jesus said when he was going through the woes of the Pharisees? They love to do these sorts of things. And then he says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. See, guys, now, I couldn't imagine doing this. I couldn't imagine taking not only the best seat, but this monstrosity of a throne. And not only that, but sitting up there and having everybody face you and worship you while you just sit there and do absolutely nothing. This is, at first I was like, is this a joke? Or, is this serious? What is this? And again, like I said, I've never seen anything even remotely close to this since then. But if you remember, in Revelation 20, it talks about God sitting on a great white throne, and he's opening up the book of life, and he's judging people according to their works. Notice how it says, it's a great white throne. Think about that, guys. Think about the level. This is nuclear level pride, okay? You had the Pharisees back in Jesus' day, and then you have John Hagee. Look at this. A great white throne. And then not only that, but you have him teaching his son to also set up a great white throne. Did this never occur to him that how this might be taken or anything like that? See, this is the level of pride that's just mind-blowing. These are the things that Jesus warned us about, but not just John Hagee. Think about it. Do your pastors, do they take the best seats in the churches? Do they take the seat right up front, the best seat, and people reserve it for him, that sort of thing. Is that what Jesus would do? No, friends. He would not be trying to take the best seats. But that's what these pastors do, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. What about Jesus addressed their attire? And he said they love to wear long robes, showy garments, kind of like these men wearing very nice looking suits. Things haven't changed today. What about them taking widows' money? Again, John Hagee preaches the tithe over and over and over again. Now, this is a very, very egregious example. I get that. I get it. But how many pastors out there are doing something very similar? Maybe not quite as egregious, but are still doing these same sorts of things. Jesus said, beware of the scribes and Pharisees who do these sorts of things. Guys, I got other videos on this. Please check this out. I'm going to post them down below. That's all I got for today. God bless.